Welcome to Culture Bite. I'm Kevin, and today I'm going to bring you She-Hulk Episode 3 breakdown, where we get tons of cameos that were really unexpected. Let's get started. As we begin this episode, we can see Jen walking back to the DOD prison, coming back to speak to Iman Blonsky, the Abomination, and to confront him on this video that has now been leaked, and you can see how she's just walking around like she owns the place. So Jen confronts Emil about the fight that we saw from Shang-Chi that was leaked on the news, and Marvel actually released a clip of this the other day, and we can see that Jen is confronting Emil about changing, even though he said he didn't. But he says that this was a really rare case because he was basically forced to, and he actually came back to the prison on his own. And when he asked who, he said it was a sorcerer supreme, Wong. This is when Jen calls up Nikki and basically asks her who Wong is, and she actually finds a LinkedIn page for Wong, and it says that he was a Target associate? What? And then he was a librarian at Cars Montage, and now the Sorcerer Supreme. You can see that he's very proud of this accomplishment, as he should be. And then Nikki even says that she sent out a thirst trap, which we can see later in the end credit scenes. This is when we have another fourth wall break as Jen talks to the audience and tells us that yes, she herself is excited to see Wong, and she must know about the Wong cinematic universe herself, as he must pop up in everything that is in phase 4 going forth. But just she wants to remind us that this show is really about her. But there's actually a major cameo that occurs during this episode too, so I wonder if she was just dropping it. And plus, let's not forget that Daredevil does actually have to show up in the show as well. As we see the title card, we can see a sweep of news stories as we got in the last episode, and we can get one news story that we get from Los Angeles Now, and it has a news report of how She-Hulk is defending the Abomination. And then you can see on the bottom of the headline that says superpowered influencer Titania speak about legal troubles, confident her legal team will make it go away. So we're still getting updates about Titania, which is actually pretty cool with that, they're continuing. Then we can see the Tattle, which reports on the backlash for She-Hulk's qualification. And then we see a bunch of YouTube related videos. There's a Desperada Daily, which talks about She-Hulk. There's a She-Hulk not real theory, a superhero hoax, the truth about so-called She-Hulk. So a bunch of videos that, we would definitely see in our world's YouTube. So we can see that She-Hulk is going viral currently, and there's just a sweep of TikToks, tweets going out, just a lot of stupidity. And this one guy says that they took the Hulk's manhood and gave it to a woman. So that's the beginning. We can see someone at Hard Seltzer Steve say, "No more female superheroes, please." And at Darby Don't Care, "Why are you turning every superhero into a girl? No one asked for that." This one guy says he has no problems with female heroes, but make your own. Like, what? And you can see Team He-Hulk, some memes, the hashtags they use, She-Hulk, Green Lady, like what? And then there's just this TikTok support OG Hulk, like what? Then we see a news report called The Conversation with Jefferson Cooper, which I think is a play on real life Anderson Cooper. But he's speaking to Gideon Wilson. Gideon Wilson actually in the comics is Sam Wilson's brother, and he actually became a minister like his dad. But when his son Jim died because of AIDS, he suddenly blamed the Hulk, and he just wanted to go completely all out for the Hulk. So he underwent exposure to gamma radiation to gain powers like Doc Samson, but with opposite effects. And then he later lost these effects, and he supported his brother greatly when he became Captain America. But it seems like here in the MCU, that is not the case, unless, they're going to try to do some retconning themselves. But I think that this is completely different. We did not see this guy in The Incredible Hulk as well. When Jen walks into her office, you can see that now she's wearing more better fit clothing instead of having to wear basically regular Jen clothes in and then becomes She-Hulk. She's looking like she's wearing more She-Hulk size clothes now. Jen is venting to Nikki about all the news reports, and Nikki actually says that maybe Jen should actually say something about the news reports that are being said, and that LA Now actually wants to speak with her, which we do see later in the episode. She does decide to speak up, and I'm not really sure if it goes her way though. Jen is called to Holloway's office, and Dennis and Pug are there, and Dennis is trying to acquire the service of the superhero law division. It is said that Dennis had an ex-girlfriend that is a shape-shifting light elf from New Asgard, and he was fooled into thinking that the light elf was Megan Thee Stallion. We also get a quick glimpse of Mallory Brooks, played by Renee Elise Goldsberry, as Jen is roasting Dennis for his great perception of himself. Wong opens a swirl portal and just jumps in looking like he's trying to look for Nikki. Jen takes Wong to his office, and Wong explains how Emil is telling the truth, that he did break him out of prison against his own will. He said the reason he needed to do this is because he needed a worthy opponent to continue his training to become Sorcerer Supreme. So it kind of makes you wonder, if are there still challenges a Sorcerer Supreme still needs to go through even if he has the title. You can see that Wong's very proud of his title. You can even see that he's actually wearing some different type of fabrics and clothing. Wong says that Emil should be excused of his actions, and then attempts to leave, but then Jen attempts to stop him from leaving and tells him that this is a little bit more serious, and he feels like she was trying to tell him that he should do the Spider-Man, forget everyone, or everyone forget about, basically Abomination, but he's like, oh, I'm not doing that again, not again. He's like, it was very messy, which, we kind of all feel that it is a little bit messy. We don't know the full aspects of who forgot Peter Parker or Spider-Man, and kind of makes you wonder if he actually remembers who Spider-Man is. He even offers to send the Abomination into the mirror dimension and even the shadow dimension, but I'm not sure if this is the same shadow dimension from Thor Love and Thunder. Pug is trying to get a understanding of how much money Dennis had spent on this light elf, as he did buy a car for the light elf, and he says that he spent a total of $175,000, which, boy, if I had that money, one damn lucky light elf. Dennis then leaves, and he even leaves his Red Bull behind because he wanted that sponsorship. But as Pug is doing some research, you can see that he's on a page called Uscreen, which I believe is the equivalent to YouTube in our world. You can see the video he's looking at is called Megan Thee Stallion Imposter Fight at Celebrate. You can see 8.2 million views, 1.2 likes. You can see that there's a QR code, and if you scan this QR code, it will take you to another free comic from Marvel. Thank you, Marvel. And it's for Savage She-Hulk, a 1980 edition too, which is actually when Jen gives a little bit of flashback, and we can see the transfusion, and we can also see where her best friend dies. And also, this is where we also see Dennis is in the comic book as well. You can see on the side, Pony Imposter thinks it's a stallion. Iron Man 3, honest review. Magaro de In Spite of You, and a bear fight. So in the video that Pug is watching, you can see that someone threw down the light elf to attempt to stop him from going overboard, as a light elf shakes itself and turns into the original form. Dennis suddenly returns back to Pug and tells him he plans on dropping the case, and said that deep inside he knew, and now he wants to take personal responsibility. And this is when Pug receives a call from Dennis, which is telling him about his handicapped parking spot he mistaken for a Cybertruck parking spot. And as he speaks, you can see that the other Dennis drinks some Red Bull. This is when Pug realizes that the Dennis in front of him was indeed actually the light elf. And then you can see that Pug exits the room as he tells the front desk ladies that he loves to harass women at the workplace. And then you can see the real Pug actually exit and say, "Not cool," as the light elf kind of just walks away and does a little pizzazz with her fingers. Jen starts walking towards the prison, power down, as a mob of media rushes her and bombards her with multiple questions. And they even say that she was rejected by the Avengers, which is not true in the comics whatsoever. Blonsky is then lowered down, and you can see that his 7 soulmates from his pen pal program actually came for his hearing, and they have like this like crowns and everything, and they're just so happy to see him. They even get a little flustered when he transforms into the Abomination. When Blonsky is asked if he has somewhere to live, Jan answers saying that he plans to open up his own meditational retreat on the property, which we do see on the trailers that are released for She-Hulk. This is when he clarifies the names of his 7 pen pals. They are Blair, Ruth, Marta, Sheila, Alejandra, Yvette, and Nicolette. Jen has 4 witnesses to call upon for Blonsky's case, and since Wong is late, even though he has a sling ring, so I don't know how he's late, she has to start with others, which is Sheen Ho, who is the prison counselor, Amy Chance, which is the librarian at the prison, and Carl Cobert, which is a prison guard who Blonsky helped out of a bad marriage. And they all explain how much of a wonderful inmate Blonsky was. Wong finally arrives and begins his statement asking if the board has heard of Kyume, which is one of the main 3 sections in karate. We continue with the court case that is being held for Dennis, and we find out that the light elf is called Runa and is the daughter of an elfin diplomat on Asgard, which now is New Asgard, since, Asgard's destroyed. Then Runa starts to give a speech saying Asgard is not a place. It's the people, like we heard Odin say and we heard Thor say at the end of Thor Ragnarok. But the judge starts to say that Thor's inspirational speeches are not admissible in court. Pug is arguing that Dennis really thought he was dating the Megan Thee Stallion. So the judge denies the dismissal of the trial. As he walks away, Runa thought it was a smart idea to impersonate the judge, which only gave Pug and Dennis more of an edge on the case. Wong tells how he gave Emil no choice to leave his cell, but when it was time to return to his cell, Wong gave him the opportunity to live in an asylum at Cosmotage, but Emil Blonsky decided that he wanted to return on his own and that he wanted to repay his debt back to society, which definitely sounds like something Jen wrote up for Wong to say. The board has no concerns for Blonsky, but they are concerned when Blonsky turns into the Abomination, that he may be out for blood, and this is when Emil decides that it's a good idea to change to the Abomination to show that he has control over his transformation and control when he becomes the Abomination. But this obviously does not go well with the board, as they are frightened as all hell. Before the trial is adjourned, the board calls upon Mr. Wong, but he corrects them and says that it's just Wong, but then goes on to say the Sorcerer Supreme, master of the mystic arts, leader and former librarian of Cosmotage. And this is when they tell him that he still broke out a prisoner. He still facilitated a prison break. So that is a crime, which then just prompts Wong to basically open his world portal and go right through. When Jen attempts to leave, she is bombarded again by newscasters, as one asks if she is one of Blonsky's rumored soulmates, and the next one says that rumors say that she got her powers by a mafia hit gone wrong, which is actually true in the comics. She got a blood transfusion because she was attacked by some mafia. We are then back at the Legal Elise bar with Jen and Nikki, as Jen is venting to Nikki how someone wrote on her car a monster defending a monster, which is so mean. And Nikki shows how there is a story out there that says She-Hulk is pregnant with the Abomination's baby. Then this is when Pug shows up and starts to rant about Dennis. And this is when Jen peeks over her head and breaks the fourth wall again and says connecting the A and B story. Nice. And it doesn't seem like Nikki or Pug heard her say this. It looks like it's kind of out her being, but it's funny because Hulk seemed to hear her say this once before. He and Jen swap stories with Pug, letting him know how deluded of a person Dennis is. And this is when Pug creepily asks if Jen is willing to say that under oath, as he wants to bring her on as a witness. When Jen is giving her statement, she mentions how Dennis considers himself as a New Yorker 10 and an LA 11, and you can see that Runa is laughing at them. And when Pug asks in Jen's opinion if Dennis is someone that would really believe he is dating the real Megan Thee Stallion, she says yes, that he really feels that he's that entitled and just that diluted within himself. Pug successfully wins the case, and Runa is sentenced to 60 days of prison for impersonating a judge. And you can see when Runa gets sentenced that Megan Thee Stallion is actually there and even does her signature yeah, I actually did that. Don't make fun of me. We return to the Blonsky trial. The board decides to grant Blonsky release on parole and is prohibited to turn into the Abomination and is required to wear a inhibitor. And if he breaks any of these conditions, he must return to prison immediately. Blonsky gives Jen some advice and actually thanks her and finally does what Nikki has been saying this whole episode, which is to guest star on a news network. And she does, and she guest stars on a news network called Citizen News Tonight. When the newscaster is giving his beginning statement, you can see the headline read, She-Hulk speaks, who is She-Hulk and who is Jen Walters? And when the news anchor refers to her as She-Hulk, Jen corrects the anchor and tells him that she's just Jen Walters and Emil Blonsky is Emil Blonsky, not the Abomination. They ask her where she got her name, and she explains that it kind of was said from some random person. We know that person, and it stuck. And then they just cut her off and tell them that in the next segment, She-Hulk is going to share her diet and exercise secrets, which she looks like she's not prepared for. Jen arrives home late and walks down an alley as someone with a glowing hard hat jumps her, and as she screams of terror, she actually comes to a realization that she's a Hulk, and she transforms. As she throws off the hard hat guy, you can see that 3 other men show up with glowing tools. One has a glowing hard hat, one has a glowing crowbar, one has some glowing gloves, and the last guy has like a metal glowing ball. And one of the guys says that if she starts around showing off her powers, that she better back it up. And when she asks if they robbed an Asgardian construction worker, they say yes, which I'm completely shocked that that's actually a thing. She beats them up pretty easily, and one is trying to inject her with something. They all run away, and then there's this one guy called Thunderbolt that was the one that was actually trying to extract blood from. Then we get another end credit scene, this time with Meg Thee Stallion and Jen, as Megan is signing a contract, I think. Is she a superhero or something? She got some powers? And then, of course, they have to have She-Hulk twerk. That's everything I found in this episode of She-Hulk. Come back for more breakdown videos, reviews, and possibly more theories. And if you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like on this video if you guys enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button to come back and join me in the next video. And drop a comment in the comment section below if you guys see anything that I miss. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheKevGuy. And check out Culture Byte on Twitter and Instagram as well. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.